Hey everybody, it's Brandon, the Weekend Cruiser, where I go on a weekend cruise just about every weekend. And one of the biggest questions I get from newbie cruisers, especially those coming to Royal Caribbean, is the key worth it? Now, some of you might not even know what the key is, but it is a way for us to buy additional perks when you get on board. Now, the question of is it worth it is always a fun one to answer because it speaks to my analytical side. And so luckily for you all, I've got a lot of cruises with Royal Caribbean booked, so I'm able to go in and see what is the true cost of the key. And then, some of it's going to be just how much do you value some of these perks that we can't put a number on. So let's go through the list of what you actually get with the key. I'll tell you where we can value that, and then we'll break it down and say, okay, so if you're buying the key, this is how much you're going to need to find value in it in order for it to make sense for you and your party. You're going to get priority access during your boarding window, so still within that 30-minute allotment that you get on embarkation day. You're also going to be able to take your luggage onto the cruise ship and check it in the main dining room for them to then deliver it to your stateroom, so you don't have to give it to one of the porters if you don't want to. You're going to have private time at onboard activities, including rock climbing, flow rider, and more. So if you are a huge fan of the flow rider and don't want to wait in line, this is going to be a great place, especially for the kids that this may tailor towards, to be able to have a much easier experience. You're also going to have priority departure tickets on tender boats. So if you are in a port, luckily we don't have many of those these days, where you have to take a tender to the port, you're going to get a priority ticket if you are the key. You're also going to get exclusive seats in a VIP seating section of the shows in the main theater, the Aqua Theater, Studio B, or maybe you're at 270 in one of the Odyssey Quantum class ships. The Odyssey is a Quantum class, in one of the Quantum class ships. The first one that we can kind of put a value to, but I really don't like the comparison here, is you can get lunch from Chops offered in the main dining room. Now, this is going to be a reduced Chops menu, but it is still food from Chops, so it should taste a little bit better, and you're going to eat that in the main dining room. If you were to purchase lunch from Chops on a normal day, not on embarkation day, you're looking at paying about $20 to $25 per person to eat in Chops and have the full lunch menu there. So not really an apples to apples comparison, but it's certainly something you want to take into the consideration. However, the biggest one that's on here that we can really say this is the true value that you get with the key is if you are going to be purchasing internet for yourself or people in your party. So if you are purchasing the Zoom, Surf, and Stream, we can absolutely put a dollar amount on what that is going to cost you if you were to buy the internet by itself. And then how much more are you going to have after that you can purchase the key with. So the math that I did, I went through and pulled, I think, like 4 or 5 different sailings and said, okay, if I did exactly that, if I purchased the internet on this ship, or if I purchased the key on the ship, what's the price between the two of these? So if I purchase the key for X amount of dollars, when the internet I know I'm going to be getting, I can value that at X amount. What is the difference? That full list that we just went over, that is the value that you're going to need to see. So if those benefits are worth the number that we're getting ready to go over, that's what you're going to want to book. Or I would say just go with the internet. If you're not getting the internet, I don't think the key's going to at all be worth your time. So I pulled up the March 17th sailing that I've got. The key's going for $26.99. Internet's going for $18.99. The difference is $8 per day. So on a weekend sailing, this is going to be a $24 difference per person that you're going to need to say that all of those benefits up there, I think that that's worth $24, so I'm going to buy this. My 414 sailing, this is an interesting one. I actually pulled this data a while ago, and of course it's changed. So I'm going to give you both of these. I pulled it, I think, like 3 months ago, and it's shifted. So to start out with, the key was $24.99. It's now been reduced to $22.99. The Zoom was sailing for $15.99, and it has now gone up to $18.99. So the difference was $9 per day, but if you're looking at booking now, it is only $4 per day. So it went from being a $27 difference to a $12 difference. So if you are already buying the internet, all of that full list that I just went over is literally only $12 difference. So I think that it's going to make a lot more sense in that situation. If you look at my December 1 sailing, which is also a weekend sailing, it is going to be key $32.99, so a bit expensive. The Zoom is going to be $18.99 for the internet. That is a $14 per day difference, or for a 3-night sailing, $42. So you've got to look at that full list that we just went over and say, is that worth $42 total dollars for me out of pocket? If I'm looking at a 7-night voyage, so I do have one of those. I'm on the Explorer of the Seas in the Mediterranean. The Zoom is $20.99. And this is another one where I checked it and it's changed. Excuse me, the key is $20.99. The Zoom was $13.99 when I pulled it a few months ago. It has now gone up to $16.99. So that means the difference was $7 that you needed to find value in that entire list outside of buying internet. Now it is only $4 per day. So even on a 7-night sailing, that is $49 total for the first list. And now it is only a $28 difference that you need to find value in all of those items that Royal doesn't sell anywhere else. So if you are buying the internet, is all those extra things worth $28? So that is how you value the key. The key here to the key is making sure that you're already going to get the internet. If you are not buying the internet for the entire voyage on the sailing, the key is not going to make sense. However, if you are buying the internet already and you see the value in that full list that we just went over, the key could absolutely be for you. And at the end of the day, from the internet to getting the key, it's not that much extra money for a better experience, and you get to buy some of the perks that you wouldn't have otherwise. All right, everybody, this is Brandon the Weekend Cruiser, hoping to see you with or without the key on a weekend sailing soon.